How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to just introduce my project that I've been working on for a while. I don't particularly know how long, but the project is called RetryRabbit. And basically what this is, it's a tool that allows you to retry messages in RabbitMQ. And it does a lot of the configuration for you that you normally would have to do to set up like replayability inside of RabbitMQ with streams. So I'm going to show you how this works, and I'm going to show you basically how you can use it to introduce replayability into your system. I should caveat this conversation with like this is like super early stages of this application. Like this is like early alpha stages where like the core functionality is there, but there's a ton of stuff that I gotta either fix or add. So let's get right into this. So RetryRabbit. RetryRabbit is a tool that makes replaying messages in RabbitMQ as easy as possible. Um, it gives you a retry dashboard that you can view messages from a specific stream or queue. You can also edit the message and then republish it to your queue, which is very, very cool. And the last thing I haven't done yet is add like a analytics dashboard. Yeah, so let's get right into this. So let's go over to the configuration tab here. This basically is backed by like a settings JSON file that I have in my .NET application. So let me go to the bottom here. So the bottom is where a lot of the configuration work happens, and it's basically just a table that lists out the active queues that have a binding to an exchange. So it lists the queues I have in my local RabbitMQ server. So I'm just going to refresh to make sure I have all the right ones. So it refreshes. So the one I'm going to be showing you today is working with queue test 3. And normally, if you're working with a queue, whether it's, in code with a consumer or, via the management UI, most times when you view a message and you acknowledge it, it's going to be a destructive action, meaning it's going to be taken off the queue. So to show that, let's go ahead and go down here and let's just automatic act the message. And let's go ahead and get a message so I can show you what message payload we're going to be working with. So this is a message payload that you've seen on the channel before. This is corresponding to my engine API, or it might have been my car data API, one of the two. So has a lot of engine data, the ID, displacement, horsepower, torque, all that stuff. So it's in a payload. But the problem is that as soon as I get that message, you can see that it deleted it off the queue because I acknowledged the message, so I removed it. So, which is normal behavior for, a queue. And what a queue is, it's always a race to zero, or it should be. The problem is that what happens if I need to republish a message? Or what happens if I need to edit data in that message and then republish it? And that's where my tool comes into play. So if I head back to my queue here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit enable retry. Oh, I have a breakpoint set in my code to the side here. Let me continue that. So I hit enable retry, and let me refresh this again. And you can see a couple things happened. One thing that happened is that the button for enable retry disappeared, and now it tells me that retry is enabled. Another thing that happened is that it made a new queue called test3.retry, and that's going to be pivotal for how this works. So test3.retry, you can see, is bound to the same exchange with the same routing key, and that's also essential too. So I have some configuration settings up here available for you, so you can put in your virtual host, the port, all your information. But the things that are going to be pertinent for us are going to be the queue and the stream. So the queue is where you're wanting to replay to, and the stream name is what we just made by clicking retry. So I have to explain that a little bit more when I actually make this, but again, I'm still heavily working on it. So let's go ahead, and once you get that settings set up, you can go ahead and go over to the retry dashboard. And this is where a lot of the power comes into play. So you can see here it copies over that settings that we defined in the configuration, into this into these fields, as well as we have a date timestamp to define how far back in time we want to go to retrieve messages. And we also have a limit too. So I don't know actually know. So we have 7 messages. Let me just put this to 10 so just to make sure. So I'm gonna hit load data. That's gonna pull all the data off of our queue. It should have. Hold on. All right, what is Q3? Test 3. Test 3 to retry. Oh, right, because I don't have any. I have to publish. I have to publish data first. So let me publish some more data now that that binding is set up. So let me just publish some data here to my exchange, so you can see that the exchange is now bound to test3.retry. And then let me go back to RetryRabbit, load the data that we just published to that exchange, and you can see that listed out here. So before, why it wasn't displaying anything is because we literally just made that the new binding. So once you build that, then then you have to get data flowing through your system, and then you'll be able to view it here. So the limit works like this. If I want to limit this to just show 1, I can do that. So I'll just put it to 3 just to make it a little bit more readable, but obviously I have to do a lot of UI adjustments. But the power of this is I can click edit and it'll pull up an editable window here, and then I can edit whatever I want. So let's say my engine ID, I want my engine ID to be Steven. And let's say, torque, we're going to move that to, I don't know, 150. Power is going to be 1,000, whatever else we want. And all I'm going to do is hit save. So I save that, and you can see that it updates this view. But I'm gonna do a refetch from the queue, just so you can see that it is in fact different. And I will have to put my limit up higher so it'll pull that message back. Let's put it up to the top, and so you can see that message that I republished is way at the bottom because that's the last message that I sent. So that's the message that we just edited. You can see all the fields: Steven, power, torque. And let's go over to the queue here. So the queue, you can see that message that we sent, it occurred right here. So now we have 21 messages. And if we go to, I don't know, I'm just going to get all the messages here. And then I'm going to knack them so they don't get taken off. Let's get all 21 messages. And we're going to just do a search for Steven. So I can show you the message that we edited, and that's right there. So that's what we sent from our RetryRabbit system, is this payload here, and that's what we can edit it again if we want and redo it, or we can edit any of these. And so now what we have here is a utility where we can not only view messages that are in our queue, but we can republish the messages to the queue using the power of streams and exchanges. And this client that I made basically handles a lot of that configuration for you. So it's really just a utility for debugging purposes, for troubleshooting. But in the event that you want to just pull maybe historical data off of your queue, you can do that with this tool, and you can automatically just create all the configuration that you need and add replayability to any queue that's actively bound to an exchange. And so very, very powerful. There's a lot more that I want to do, but you can see, like, again, if I, this is dynamic too. So let me just, I don't know, let's just publish like a different message here. We'll just take out all these properties and we'll just say, first name is Steven, and I'm just going to publish that. And then let's go ahead and go back to the client, and I don't know what the limit has to be. Let's go ahead and load data. So let's load that data in, and you'll see it at the bottom. If we want to edit that to maybe be last name Samuelsen, save that, come over to my queue here. you can see that there's the message that published. And then if we get all those messages and we scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see that there's the message there. So again, we can see it in RabbitMQ. We have a record of it in RetryRabbit. But we can adjust any configuration. So if we make a new queue inside of RabbitMQ, if you're in queues and or you make a new exchange, we'll just say like I don't know, retry Rabbit. We'll just do a direct exchange. We'll add that. We'll come in here and make a new queue, and we'll do retry Rabbit queue, and we will just leave it like that. So retry Rabbit queue. You can see that's just standard classic queue. Let's go ahead and copy that name, and let's come back to our exchange. And again, this is just basic RabbitMQ configuration stuff. I'm just showing you how. Whoops. All right. Bind. Okay. So this is basic like stuff like you have an exchange and you have a queue with a routing key. Basic RabbitMQ configuration. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Now you can see that I have that queue showing up here. And let's go ahead and just click Enable Retry, refresh. Now it's retry enabled, and that's it. So if we go over to if we edit some of our settings here, and we'll say our queue is, what was the queue called? Retry Rabbit queue, and retry Rabbit with the exchange of retry Rabbit, and I believe the routing key it tells you here is retry. Update those settings. We'll save those settings. Come back into retry, and let's go ahead and just publish. Let's go ahead and just publish some messages here. So retry. This. I don't know, something like that. And we'll give it a routing key of retry. And we'll publish a few of those. Come in here, load the data. And I think I got all the parameters right. Yeah, so there's 5 messages. Edit this. And we'll say edit, retry that. And we'll save it. And we'll up that, load the data again. And you can see that our message that we just published is there as well as there. So again, very, very cool, because this should be able to plug into your existing RabbitMQ setup and give you that list of queues that are readily available to provide replayability to out of the box, right? If you have a queue that's bound to an exchange, it's ready to go for replayability. You can just come in here, click Enable Retry, plug it into your system, and if you ever need to see historical messages, if you ever need to replay a message, you can do it all in this client without any additional code. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.